Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of the Digital Shop Talk Radio. I'm Tom Dorsey, and today we're going to be talking about improving your ARO one step at a time, one process step at a time. It's the baby steps that we talk about a lot of times, right? And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, my expert panel of experts. I got Uwe Kleinschmidt in here. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
And we've got two great shops, and I really wanted to get these guys on because they've been committed. Well, let me put it this way. I think they've been committed, or they should be committed. But you can see kind of how they have targeted specific improvements. Some of it might have been based off of training and attendance at the conference and kind of collaboration with other digital shop owners and kind of learning some stuff and then implementing it. You can kind of see the progression of that implementation over time. But the big point there is that we're seeing the success, right? It's actually paying off. Now, some of it might have taken some time. Some of it might have taken some extra little prodding, and we'll let these guys tell us all about it. And hopefully they're going to benefit you in your journey and your transition to a digital shop. And I'm expecting they're going to help each other out as well. So without further ado, I'm excited to welcome Brett Spaulding from Sage Creek. Welcome, Brett.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on. And Jeff Mead from American Import Automotive. Welcome, Jeff, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, bud.
Yeah, like I said, excited to see you guys. It's been a while, but when I go in, it's like we're old friends, right? When I go in to see your business control panel, I see your metrics and I see those improvements. And really, I mean, it's almost like a roadmap when I'm looking at your data to see where you've started to focus on something. All of a sudden, here at this point, motorist research time starts to bump, inspection rate starts to bump, and you can kind of really see the coordination of those two things, the culmination of those really starting to pay off for you. What's it been like? I mean, let me start out with you, Brett. I've, like I said, we've been out and been out to your shop. We've been involved in Facebook and conference and a lot of things. How do you see that progression happening for you? And what would you say for folks is kind of either the thing that has really kind of made the light bulb go off, or you had the best, results from, or what was that kind of progression like for you?
Well, I think we've been part of Auto Vitals for probably 5 or 6 years now.
6 years,
and it was one of those things where I thought I could just turn it on and start using it and it would work. Well, if you don't have that buy-in from the technicians, you don't have the owner buy-in, which I was. And I was bought in. I believed in the concept. That's why I started it. I knew that it was a game changer, but I didn't really understand the power of Auto Vitals. And so when my coaching through Auto Vitals has had a huge effect over the time, but I've been kind of hard-nosed and stubborn. I went through Shaney and I've worked with Isabel and Marty and Bill, and each one of those has helped me progress through the process. And for those of you that can actually jump in and grab it, just 100%, that's the best thing, obviously. But so it really started changing when I was able to get the technician input on the inspections, get their buy-in. And then my service advisor, she just told me yesterday, she's been with me for 5 years, and she didn't really grasp the potential and the power of it either until we started working more specifically with areas that they were struggling with and the areas that were going to make a difference for them. So, getting the actual inspection sent out to the customer was a big deal to start with. Editing the pictures was another.
And that's part of that progression, right? Once you kind of get them sending it, now you got to really, now you want to, pretty up what you're sending. And
right.
Watching this series, we're talking really, if you think about it, like publishing a book, right? You got some authors and they send you the rough draft, but you're not just going to forward that to Amazon and hope for big book sales. You know, you gotta kind of write it to the audience, and you got to finish the story, and you got to make it readable, and you got to make it understandable. And it's
Right.
almost a natural progression. If you're going to send it, well, then it's like, well, now I have to make it good. Now I have to make it nice, you know?
Right. Yeah. And now we can literally watch the customer, how long the time they view it is so much longer now, because we're editing the pictures, we're providing videos, educational videos, and they're spending the time, and it's really moving us forward. And it's, you know, you got to have a customer service person that, or a service advisor that cares about the people, and the system will sell the work. It educates the people, and you just take them through the system step by step, and you know, you do your prep work with them, you lay the foundation, you tell them what to expect, and then you follow through, and then you set that exit schedule at the end, and it just starts all over again. So it's just like a beautiful system.
Yeah. If you follow it. So Jeff,
Yeah.
are you guys seeing that same kind of progression? You know, because you guys have a lot of similar kind of spurts. You know, I could really see after conference where you know, you started motorist research time started bumping up, picture edit rate starts bumping up, and then something took off last summer. It's just like a rocket ship, right? And it's really driving some ARO increases for you.
Yeah, basically again, we've had Auto Vitals for probably 3 years. The first couple of years that it came in, we were trying to add a service writer at the same time and kind of tried to make him the implementer. Well, the problem is that became a revolving chair. So we kept having a new guy there and kept trying to give the new guy how to do it. So finally, probably the end of 2019, I went to Jeff and said, hey, look, you know, why don't you let me do this? Because I'm not going anywhere. And, you know, the problem is every time somebody leaves, they take all the information. We don't know anything. So then that was probably November 2019. And of course, when I got involved, I was absolutely confused and nowhere to go, nowhere to turn, and didn't really know what to do. But I would call Auto Vitals. They would talk me through each individual little thing. But every time I watched your podcast, everybody on it was doing cartwheels, saying how great everything is. So I kind of went to the bosses and said, look, you know, I need to go to their conference and find out what's going on. Yeah. And when I went out to your conference, it was like a light bulb went off. I mean, I literally sat down with Chris Maggard for 10 minutes, and she showed me how to print my inspection, and I could come back and tailor it to our own shop. So I got with our service manager when I got back, and we tailored it up. And I mean, it seems like it's definitely not all 100% perfect by any means, but I think every day we take a step.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what we're looking to see, right? Is that constant improvement, analysis, kind of, you know, communication with the staff, you know, and I see Bill's notes in there, you know, shop meeting, right? Or you guys are adding your shop meeting notes in there. And so then that stuff starts to stick, and you can really see the progression and the improvement, and it's an incremental thing, right? And I think back to Brett's point is that, you know, a lot of people come in and think it's a toaster, you know, I'm going to plug it in and push down the lever and then I'm going to get crispy bread, right? Well, it just doesn't happen that way, right? You really have to have a plan behind it. You have to communicate and be transparent with your crew, so you're all pulling the rope the same way. And then you just have to be consistent. And it's like anything else, you know, you're going to fall down a couple times, but you got to get back in the saddle. You got to continue, and you got to commit and stick it through. And it's paying off. I mean, you know, and it's funny, I saw, you know, you guys probably had like a 20%, maybe 15% bump in your ARO. And then that motorist research time has just taken off over the last quarter, maybe a little bit longer than that. And that ARO is just skyrocketing right behind that. How has it been, do you feel, from your staff's perspective? I mean, is the success kind of motivating them to drive more success?
I believe it is. I think, you know, the other thing that we do with the Auto Vitals is we also do what we call a nowhere to hide form, where we look at customer history before we send it out to the shop. So when the technician gets the information, he knows when the training was done last or when the coolant was done last. So it saves him a lot of time as far as not recommending something that we did 6 months ago. Yeah. And, you know, it knows that if we flushed the training 6 months ago, we don't need to check it per se, other than to make sure it's full and clean and not leaking. But so I think it's been really good. I think we've had very good success with our technician buy-in. I think we've kind of tweaked it a little bit. Sometimes I think we've tweaked it too far and had to dial it back a little bit because people start getting in an uproar about it. But I think that overall, I think we're managing it pretty well. I think our biggest downfall is not educating the customer that we're going to send them an inspection. So a lot of times we'll send it, we'll watch the 20 minutes click by, nobody's ever looked at it, then we'll go to call them, can't get a hold of nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that's exactly like the Brett's point earlier, you know, is that it takes that kind of that whole process, right? If you do great inspections, but boy, you just haven't told the customer, or you don't hit that send button, whoops, you kind of done that. And then what happens is the guys are like, well, why should I do this? You know, similar to when you're on paper and you do you mark all this stuff and you're writing on the back of the paper and you're adding in some binder paper into it, writing on the clipboard. And then the guy just kind of goes, yeah, oil change, you know, sells the, and you're like, that's the last time I do that. Right. And so you really got to kind of keep it, you know, hey, thank you for all the work. It's valuable. You know what? And maybe even keep that transparency running. Talk about, let me ask you guys this, but let's be specific. In your team meetings, do you talk about, hey, yeah, here's what we got sold. Great job. And here's what's deferred. And there is a plan to sell it. There, matter of fact, I've exit scheduled X percentage of them. They're coming back. Don't worry. Your stuff's getting sold, just not today. Are you guys kind of talking about that information with your team to keep them motivated to see that, you know, they've got some funds on account, right? They got some.
Absolutely.
I will tell you that, I mean, we're probably lacking in that area. I mean, we don't do a lot of exit scheduling as of yet per se. We've talked about it, but we haven't actually took that step yet. The big thing that we do is we charge and die air conditioning systems all the time. So I'm constantly telling customers, you know, I need you to bring it back in a week to 10 days or whatnot. Well, the bosses let me know last week that they don't want to have that conversation. They want to set an exit appointment. You know, when they leave, let's schedule it to come back in 10 days. So that's kind of what we're working on now. But like I said, we're definitely far from doing the best that we can do. But I think, again, every day it's a little bit better.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Brett's an exit scheduling machine. I mean, what do you guys, Brett? I mean, you guys, I'm sure you're batting for 100%. Where would you say you're at?
Oh, yeah, we're definitely batting there. I know that when we started the process, we were next to nothing. And I think we're probably about 28 to 30% right now, which isn't great, but it's made a huge difference in our scheduling. And as far as your first question about how, you know, how do we keep those techs motivated? We absolutely talk to them about the process and that those things that they're recommending go into deferred work, and that we exit schedule them to come back. And we've shown them pictures of how it works. We show them what the customer sees, how the customer can control what they want to talk about or what they want to fix or when they can come in. And it just really opened some eyeballs to the technicians, because I don't think they had a clue that we had such a powerful system that was literally tracking everything they're recommending.
Yeah, exactly. And it keeps keeps them honest, right? And it keeps you honest. And then and then for the service writer, it's really just, you know, it's like schedule. It's just scheduling. It's just planning. It's not if or maybe, it's when's a good time. What are we going to get done today? What are we going to get done then? And boy, I got to tell you, you know, from a tech's perspective, if you have that type of confidence in the team up front, where you really, you know, fired up to give them a lot of good ammunition, a lot of good, you know, ingredients to cook that recipe up with, right? And you just have to make it easy for them. You have to make it transparent. You have to give them the process and then what the expectations are to your technicians, you know, and set those goals. But then after that, you just have to make it easy. You have to make the process simple on them. And that might be reviewing your inspection sheet to make sure that it's as efficient and comprehensive as possible. They're not having to do a lot of extra edits. What does that communication process look like? Is there ways that we can make that easier and simplify that and make it more streamlined? And, you know, really being able to see what their work is. You know, it's the old axiom, right? It's, you know, plan your work and work your plan. And if they know what's coming in, well, then they can plan that. And then you get less of those fires that you have to put out in a day, less conflicts on base scheduling and stuff like that. And you just get more efficient and more. Matter of fact, I was reading a testimonial, somebody from, matter of fact, the Meineke location. It was, I believe a service writer or a shop manager or something sent in. And he had said that he finally gets to go home on time. You know, he said that he things that used to always happen just don't happen anymore. And now he gets out on time every day, right? In other words, he's managing his business. He's that much more comfortable and confident in his business. And so guess what? His motivation and his morale and his, the turnover in that location is going to be a lot less. And it really, that success really helps to breed more success. So let me ask you guys this. What would you say for somebody who's just getting started or has, been like you said, listening to the podcast and now you guys are on here jumping up and down. How do I get there? How do I start feeling some of that love? Where should they focus first?
Training. Through your coaches and through the conferences and whatever you have available. The digital training that you have on the web, on the internet, is important. All that training, if you don't have the understanding of what you have, that's what I went through. I didn't understand it for a couple of years, and until I started figuring it out. Now I can look at the BCP and the business control panel, and I understand what those numbers mean, and I understand what's affecting them.
Yes, that's the important part, right? And then what to do about it. If you know what's broke, then you can go fix it.
Right.
How about you, Jeff?
Well, I would say that training is definitely a big thing, but I think that the main thing is ask questions. If you don't know something or you want to know something, call out, ask a question. Again, I have text on my phone. Tom, I don't know if you remember or not, but a few weeks ago I sent you a text.
Yeah.
I was trying to sign into your program and I couldn't get in there. But like I said, I've never had AutoVitals not answer a question for me in 10, 15 minutes, but it's just, as you progress, then you kind of learn what you need to know and what questions you need to ask in order to get to the next step. I think your guys' training is night and day above where it was 3 years ago. Because I will tell you, my first experience with AutoVitals, Jeff went to another ATI shop that had it, brought it back and said, oh, we got to have this. So he signed up for it. Our coach at the time said, hey, go watch our podcast. So we go watch the podcast, and it was like webinars or whatnot, but the webinar, you guys were on like step 291, and we didn't even know what step 1 was yet.
Yeah.
So I went to Jeff and said, they're speaking Chinese. I don't even know what to tell you. But like I said, as we've progressed, and I've been through a couple different coaches, like I said, Super Conference was it for me. I sat down with her for 10 minutes, and it was just like all of a sudden I knew what we were trying to accomplish.
We have made a lot of progressions. Our conference is fantastic. The digital shop conference, although Super Conference is pretty awesome too. But man, you're going to catch so much information, but more importantly, you get to collaborate with other folks that are in the same shoes as you. And once you have that epiphany, then all of a sudden, what happens is you start taking Bill's phone call more. Right now, when Bill's calling, hey, I'm going to make that appointment. I'm going to make that check-in with my AutoVitals trainer, because it gives them a lot more credibility. We start to get that trust established. And bringing in folks like Bill and Chris Maggard and Shaney and all the work that we're doing with them, Al, and I can go on and on. I don't want to miss anybody now. Steven, Dave. But seriously, the drive and the motivation that those folks have, because don't think that they don't learn from you at conference also, right? And on the Facebook forum. And really, so help us help you. The more that you participate in the Facebook forum and asking those questions, coming on here and asking questions, showing up at conference, holding us accountable, as well as, yourselves, and learning from everybody else, just makes it all better, makes us all better, right? Our folks can help you better. We get insights that helps Uva and the development folks make better, solutions for you. And ultimately, you're out there helping yourself, but also helping your peers and helping this industry to stay competitive. Mr. Connor, I want to welcome Bill Connor, another of our regular expert on our panel of experts. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been kind of lurking and learning in the background, which is always a good thing. So just listen to what I've worked with Brett quite a bit. So I kind of enjoy hearing and seeing his success when I look into business control panels. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing. He's done a great job. It's very helpful.
Yeah, no, I can see. I see all Bill's little check-in dates, and then I see improvement spikes that, and actually stay very consistent, right? And so that's perfect setup for what we really want to get across today. And, you know, Uva has made, I think, a nice infographic for us to kind of put some of this into context as the progression. You know, the information that we sent out last week, I thought was fantastic, both internally and externally, right? I got so much positive feedback, Uva, about the, you know, kind of the weekly ramp up plan that you made, that you shared with us last week. So we're excited to see what you got for us this week.
Sure. You know, I really want to go back to what Tom asked you in the beginning, because every day you're not using the system to its fullest potential, you're leaving money on the table. And
Absolutely.
And so we want to help you having the fewest amount of those days. And you guys said training. Is it more training, if I can ask both of you, is it training of the features, or is it more, dang, I have to change my process a little bit. Nobody is going to open the text message if I don't tell them at drop off that there is a text going to arrive, right? So how would you, if you had the chance to go back and redo it, what would be your focus on for your team?
For myself,
Mhm.
for myself, Uva, it's all about my focus. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Right.
So, yes, your training has improved. It's gotten better. It's more extensive, many more options, but you still, we got to take our own responsibility and understand that we have to put in the time to get the training.
Okay.
So in my case, it was more of a commitment on my end.
So shop owner commitment in the beginning to know what it takes.
Yep.
And then relentlessly execute.
Yep. Implement.
Jeff, what would you
I would say
say?
if I could go back and do it all over again, I think what would change would be how quick I adapted to change. And the reason I say that, you know, I've worked here for 15 years and I've been doing this for close to 30 years. And I'm very successful at what I was doing. I was very comfortable with it. Everything was wonderful. But when he brought in Auto Vitals, I kind of looked at it cross-eyed and like, you know, I can do what I do. I mean, leave me alone. You know what I mean? But now I see all the benefits of it. And what the beautiful thing is once it's up and running, it's real easy to add another service writer, because I just got to show him what I'm doing and he does the same thing. Everything's good. You know what I mean? This, like he was saying earlier, the program sells the work. All we're doing is communicating to the customer all the work that the car needs, you know? So I think that, I would just have got on board a lot quicker with it. Instead of letting the new guys try it out and everything else, I would have just grabbed it right from the get-go, and we'd probably be light years ahead of where we are today.
So can I paraphrase what I heard you say?
Sure.
You were kind of sitting in the background and let the new guy get the bloody nose, expecting that it's not going to work anyway, because you
and because
you
I've
have
worked as long as I have, I know my
exactly.
And so I know when my boss said, you know, goes up against a brick wall, he's just moving on. So to be honest with you, when it first came in, I thought, no way in the world is this sticking around. So I moved on and was doing my work, you know. But it definitely has got huge benefits, and it's been a huge blessing to have it, by all means.
He's the new guy with Auto Vitals. Gotta love that. Gotta love it.
So, you know, you need a new title, the scapegoat introducing Auto Vitals. Let's put him on the hot seat and see what happens.
Well, they say in this business that you have to adapt to change, and I'm probably the worst in the world at that. I mean, I'm telling you, every restaurant I go to, I order the same thing. I drink the same soda every day. You know, I work the same schedule every week. If I'm not at work, I'm with my wife. You know what I mean? I have routines, and that's what I'm comfortable. So I don't change. So when things change, I usually meet them negatively, to be 100% honest with you.
Of course, everybody does.
Yeah.
But this one is definitely, like I said, this one, if I could go back and change, I certainly would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just took a while, but we won them over.
That's right. That's right.
So Dustin, if you don't mind, putting maybe the infograph up, because I still want to go into more details because I assume everybody in the audience is in the exact same shoes as the two of you, and we really want to help them shortening the getting up to speed. Now I see it too. So what I would like to do, if you guys don't mind, is we just have the traditional process. I just called it paper-based. I also could have said that's the comfortable past, right? As Jeff just pointed out.
That's right.
Right? And on the right-hand side, we go digital. So let's talk about the techs. If you could, I mean, the benefits are clear, right? The techs are not motivated if the service advisor is not selling.
Right.
That's how simple that is, right? That actually doesn't matter whether it's paper or digital. The problem with paper is, how do you find out unless you sit on a Saturday at the kitchen table and compare every single inspection with the estimate, right? That's pretty time consuming. With digital, you can immediately see that. So back to both of you, if you could turn back time, what would you do so the techs buy in day 2, if not day 1?
I think if it was me, I mean, I think that I would have just, again, supported it right from Jump Street. Again, because I've been here as long as I have, I didn't realize, I guess, the motivation control that I had over the rest of the shop. So when they see me acting negatively towards it, they're,
Right.
they basically bowed out and did the same thing. Everybody's just like, oh yeah, this too shall pass. And to be honest with you, when I came back from the conference and gung ho on it, I mean, it was like they were looking at me like I was an alien because I was a completely different person. You know what I mean? I was looking at it completely different.
Makes sense. To be the trailblazer and
That's
even
a good
if they're
point, right, is that yeah, the owner might be bought in, but if that implementer's not bought in, or whoever the alpha dog in that shop is against it, that's the way, that's the way the attitude's going to go. And people
Sure.
are working to make it fail, right? Because they just want to get rid of it. And they know, like to Jeff's point, I know it's going to go away soon. We might as well make soon tomorrow.
Right.
Brett, what's your take?
So that's a great question, Uba. And what I've learned and I've had success with the last 3 technicians that we have here now, is when I interview with the digital process concept, the tablet, how it works. And I talk to them about, and I look into their, I try to look at their face and see expressions, and if they're excited about that, then they've passed that test. But if they like him hawing around and and usually it's the younger guys that are all excited about it, obviously with technology, but that's made a huge difference. So the buy-in happens on the last guy that I hired. Well, he's only been here maybe a month and a half, and he's totally bought in, and he's doing the whole thing, and he does a great job, and he understands how that influences his paycheck and how it provides work for him. And the other day he asked, well, I don't know if I should be taking all these pictures and recommending all these services. And I says, well, number one, you have an ethical obligation to recommend things that are needed or that are of a safety issue. But the flip side of that is that's how the system works. The more pictures, the more education, information you can provide, the more that we put the customer in control. They get to choose whether they're going to make an investment in that car, throw it away, get a new one, or do it in pieces, whatever. But they're in charge. And this system, it relieves that anxiety because they see it in front of them, and they see the detail. And when they know that we're the professional, but we are saying, here it is, what do you want to do? This is what we recommend. And it just seems to flow into a much better customer relationship.
Absolutely.
Better sales numbers, more work for the technicians. Everybody's happy.
Cool. Thank you. let's go to the next, Tom, if that's okay with you. Service advisors, and I mean, Jeff we couldn't have get a better testimonial than what Jeff is saying, right? In the old world, a lot of sales pressure is applied, whether you want or not. Especially we as consumers have gotten so used to getting our information online. We don't want to have somebody tell us in our ear right in this moment what I'm supposed to do, right? And so if you go back again, what would you change in working with yourself as a service advisor or with your service advisor to hone that new skill of letting the education speak for itself and then take the phone call? Because that is what it comes down to.
Yeah. I would say if I could go back and do it all over again from day one, I would talk about Auto Vitals to every customer that walked through the door. Instead of, you know, again, and I'll be honest with you, I'm guilty of it today where I don't tell the customer, hey, we're going to send you an email. Because I've been dealing with customers for so long, they walk in, throw me their keys, and they're gone. Where, like I said, I think I would take the time to stop them and say, hey, just so you know, we're going to be sending you an email. We got a new program. I'd even pull one up on the computer and show it to them because I got 2 monitors so I can pull it up and show them. Because every customer that we've talked to about it raves about it. They all think it's just absolutely awesome. Even customers that don't, like I had a customer this morning that came in, literally Jeff was going to try and program something on his truck and we ended up couldn't do it. So there was not even a bill attached to it. Okay. But he still got the update that, hey, your vehicle's in progress. You know, he still got an inspection. So when he picked up his vehicle again, there was no bill attached to it. And he just said, hey, I just want to let you know that email you guys sent me was just absolutely awesome. So, I mean, like I said, they eat it up. And I mean, communication is key and it does a lot of the communicating for us. You know, back to Brett's point, everything he was just talking about as far as the process of how we do things, that's the way they were always supposed to be done. You know what I mean? It's just people took shortcuts because they didn't have the time. And I think Auto Vital streamlines a lot of that to where we don't have to spend the time.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's what we're really trying to do. And boy, I'll tell you what, you got some stuff coming out that is going to knock your socks off. You'll probably be pissed off at us a little bit because, you know, you guys had to go slug through all the hard stuff and now all of a sudden we made it simple. but we got there because of you, you know, because of your feedback and kind of, you know, you guys blaze that trail along with everybody else out there, you know, getting out there and becoming digital and, you know, kind of fighting that traditional, you know, and really being able to stand out. And like you said, your customers will notice it. They're the first ones. And really that's what I usually recommend that to folks, you know, because you need quick wins and you need a lot of times you need that little extra, you know, motivation, you know, and initially you should be sending to folks and go out there when they're and say, hey, have you gotten our digital inspection? What'd you think? You know, ask them about it. They're sitting in the waiting room or whatever, or somebody says hi to you at the supermarket and say, how's that? You know, because, oh boy, the stories that they can tell you behind that really inspire you and you can share those with the team. And even better yet, you know, when folks start recognizing their technician or their service writer because they see them on that digital inspection and giving them, you know, thank you for your help. That's inspiring to folks, you know, it ties it all together that what I'm doing every day, yeah, it's grinding and yeah, sometimes it stinks, but you know what, boy, there's a big payoff because a lot of times when you're in the back, you don't get that, you know, that customer appreciation. It doesn't flow all the way down to the offensive line sometimes, you know what I mean?
For sure.
What's kind of interesting is starting with the technician and then the customer. What I'm hearing here is that we're going to go and explain to the staff what's in it for them. And that's how we're going to get their buy-in. We're going to let them know what they're going to get out of doing this. And now we've done the same thing with the customer. What's in it for them? You know, a vehicle that's safe, comfortable, dependable. It's going to come to you. You don't have to hang around the shop. So that's a pretty good thing that we hear repeated pretty often.
There's some money coming in right now. See, that's
my phone.
inspection. And now they've got some buying questions for Brett.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay, man. That's the sound of money. Might as well, you know, I've always tried to program my ringtone as a slot machine paying off, right? Because then that's really what it should.
That's a good idea.
Little obvious, don't you think?
Well, whatever.
So one thing that I would just input on the service advisor, definitely reiterate what Jeff said. We've been where he's at, where we didn't really do the exit scheduling, where we didn't really explain it to the customer up front. We've changed that, and it makes a world of difference. Because if you don't tell them what's coming and they just see it, they don't know what to do with it. They just look over it and kick it out and say, where's, call you or whatever and say, where's my car? And so, we don't set that expectation for them. It goes so much better if we do. And it just helps that average ARO, it all works. It all flows together.
Yeah, how would they open a text link if they don't know they're going to get one? Right?
Exactly.
That's how simple this is.
Yeah, it's spam.
You don't want to leave it up to chance.
Yep. And then it sets you off with, if you don't know about it, then, oh gosh, man, maybe I don't go back to these guys. They spam me a lot. They're trying to send me all of this promo stuff, and they haven't even read it, but it's just the assumption, right? Because they didn't know about it. And even that little bit of, in their mind, maybe they go somewhere else next visit. You just don't know. And so you really want to make sure you're hitting it on, but here's a good point for you is if you put yourself in your customer's shoes, right? And when we're talking about setting the expectation of what that inspection looks like, you have an opportunity to say, hey, we're going to find these things. We're going to inspect everything. First of all, we're going to inspect the good stuff and we're going to inspect the bad stuff. And we're going to find some stuff that, you're going to need to get done soon. And we're going to let you know about that. And you know what happens from a customer's perspective? They go, whew, when they can see that, because you're not going to try to sell me everything up front. It really helps to bring the walls down. It helps to bring the defense down and open them up to the things. Now they know that, they're only going to show me the stuff that's really bad here. And and we'll see what happens when I get my inspection. But you know what? They're pretty honest and transparent, and I'm not going to have to try to get it all done today. They're not going to put pressure on me. That relief right there opens them up to that approval process, right? It's kind of, preheating the oven a little bit.
Put them in the driver's seat.
Put them in the driver's seat. Yeah. And so make sure, that's why it's so critical. It's not just, you're going to get a better open rate. You're going to get a better usage rate. You're going to get a better approval rate. But really, if you think about it from taking their hand and holding it and showing them what to expect and that it's all going to be okay and there's nothing to be afraid of here and we're going to just show you like it is, boy, that really sets them up for once they're having that conversation and figuring out what they're going to approve. And I'll bet you both have stories about stuff that was due in the future and they went, well, yeah, let's just go ahead and throw all that in right now.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
That's what happens. That's how they open up to that. Let's just get it done now. And that's where you want them. Because then you just set them up for the
people can't get their cars tied up. They're on the go. Their cars got to be mobile.
Yep.
They ain't got time to leave it with us.
Yep.
Cool. Want to take the next step, and that is, the secret sauce of workflow management.
Yes.
So, as Jeff just said it very nicely, he said, AutoVitals saves us time. I hope you meant using workflow management. And so we have found through, talking to guys like yours, hundreds of them, that often service advisors basically constantly need to update on the status so they can predict how many build hours they can still sell without, mismanaging customers' expectations, right? So a service advisor constantly needs to be aware what the situation is in the shop, right? And in the old world, that's only possible by asking and by running around and talking. And then service advisors often take the safe route and are busy through running around and basically schedule the shop based on what they can accomplish, not necessarily what the technician can accomplish. Is that a fair assessment, Brett and Jeff?
Absolutely.
For sure.
And so that's leaving money on the table again, maybe not in ARO, but in car count, right? Because you can get a lot more stuff done. And especially also, here's the other thing we noticed during COVID time. We saw shops all of a sudden increasing ARO.
Sure. They have more time.
More time.
They got it.
Right? So what that means is if we can detect more opportunities to save time and eliminate busy work, voila, the service advisor becomes a lot more flexible. So this is where workflow comes in, where the tablet tells the service advisor how far the technician is, and they don't need to run around and find out. How long did that take you guys, or maybe you're still in the process of getting the techs, updating the tablet and job complete, and the service advisor using the workflow?
I would say for us, it's still a work in progress.
Okay.
I mean, I would say probably half the guys are doing it and half of them aren't. We're having to remind them all day. And a lot of that is again, because we brought in a couple new people. So things have changed. So they're at an earlier point in the learning curve than the rest of the guys are.
Right.
But I think that we're definitely heading in that direction. And I'll be 100% honest with you, there's 2 service writers here. And I don't think either one of us are managing the workflow steps as efficiently as we should be. And the reason for that, I can't tell you other than when we figured out the system, we were on the tech view. So it was just, so we're not looking at the other view. We just need to get in the habit of doing it.
But even the tech view is already, should be, if you can believe the numbers. Oh, I know this tech has X numbers of hours left.
Right.
Let's just assign, a new vehicle to them.
And then we can see exactly where they're at.
Right. Brett, how did that work for you?
Well, it's something that we definitely have to remind them for, once in a while for, but overall it's gotten much better, and it definitely has an effect, a ripple effect on how the service writer sees when they use that workflow system and they look at those numbers and their progress. It definitely allows them to control their scheduling better.
Bill, how do you advise shops that are struggling?
So the first thing I do is I like to go ahead and get them to go ahead and have a 5-minute scrum in the morning and go ahead and ask everybody, how many hours do you want to do for today? And then you can look at the today's vehicle page, see what you've got available. So I always start them out on the today's vehicle page saying, look, this is the amount of fuel they need to burn. What do you have in the tank so far? And then technicians, you can really help the service advisor help you get your goal if you would just simply have the tablet open when you're working on a vehicle and mark the jobs done as you move through them. And if you change to a different vehicle, even for a little bit, press save and go open the other one up. So if the service writer can see that, they can help you get more work. And then by doing the inspections, we get more hours per repair order, less trips to the parking lot. So always working with them to make sure they all understand what's in it for them. But to me, the labor inventory is the only thing that you have to sell that expires every time that the clock strikes the next minute. And it's your highest gross profit item you have. So why in the hell wouldn't you manage that more than anything else? And so the labor inventory management right there from the technician view, we got T times turned on. Green means you're all making money. Yellow means you're getting close to not making money. And when it turns red, it's too late. You either got to call the customer and beg for forgiveness or more money, whatever the case might be, or, you can't fix it.
Yep. Thank you, sir. We would stun silence.
We're thinking.
Everybody's just contemplating that. I mean, it's hard to argue with that, right?
Bill's got a lot of wisdom.
Boy, does he.
I learn from every shop owner that I work with.
Let's go and go back into the motorist's shoes. The digital inspection has this incredible opportunity to not only educate when the vehicle's in the shop, but when they go home with the vehicle, right? And then doesn't, you can probably maybe show that on the right-hand side, you see a typical appointment reminder, right? Where you can actually reusing the inspection sheet. If you could scroll down a little bit like this, there's an observation, right? Instrument cluster, tire maintenance alignment is further down. And if you click on it, it might have some additional information, right? So we can basically continue the same kind of communication a motorist has already received while the vehicle was in the shop. You declined replacing the air filter, but look, it has not gotten any cleaner since the last visit. And by using the same pictures they have seen in the inspection result, that will increase the approval rate, even if the vehicle is not in the shop. Brett and Jeff, how did you experience that?
I would tell you that we constantly have customers because they get your reminders. They'll call me up and say, "Hey, I got a reminder for my vehicle. I need to bring it in on Thursday." And I'll pull it up through your email to find out what the reminder is. And a lot of times I'll find out, it's 3 different flushes. I mean, that's what we're working for. You know what I mean? Trying to get the easy, quick maintenance services.
Right.
And like I said, it's nice when they call you back off of an inspection that you did a month ago. And all of a sudden on Wednesday, you got 3 more than you thought you were going to have because it just fell in your lap. You know what I mean? Because you did what you were supposed to do a month ago.
Do you guys do? Oh, Brett, I don't want to.
Oh no, I agree with Jeff. In fact, the setup that you do at the exit scheduling and literally showing them this form that they're going to see coming in their email or their text is huge. If you can, and my service writer's theme is, this system allows me to spend the time with the customer. So if you're spending the time setting that expectation of why you're sending them that, what they're going to see, how they're going to use it, how they can select it, you're still educating them. But now again, you're putting them in control. And like Jeff said, voila, you start seeing these appointments showing up on your scheduler, and it's awesome. It totally works. We throw another, if they haven't confirmed, then we make a phone call and confirm the appointment or have them reschedule. So we just take it one step further.
So do I hear you, Brett, when you do the exit schedule, you're actually pulling up that future reminder, showing them what's on it that hasn't been done and saying, expect to get this from me, and you're going to get it 2 weeks beforehand. And if you forget, I'm going to remind you once more. So perfect. That's exactly what we talked about. So I'm glad to hear that you're doing that.
Yes, that's exactly what you taught us to do, and it works like a charm.
That is cool.
I'll have to go look to see if our system does that. I'll probably have to ask Chris to show me whether or not it does, because I don't know how that works. I know that I don't know exactly which button I push, but sometimes when I'm closing out a ticket, it'll pop up and show me the exit schedule screen. But I've never used it. I'll be 100% honest with you. But that's the next step.
Yes.
He just learned another way to make some money right there
Perfect.
live on air. Awesome.
You just found a vein of gold, buddy. Get the shovels out.
We called it the concierge button.
Yeah.
Jeff, it has a little, hotel bell icon on it. So if you click on it, it shows you exactly the reminder how it looks, and you can show it to the customer and say, this is what you're going to get in X weeks.
Well, as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna go pull one up.
Yeah, and then the reminders come out, and then the appointment confirmation comes out for next visit, and it actually will ask them, hey, remember this stuff? What do you want to do? Do you want to go ahead and approve it? And a lot of that stuff, you'll catch the approval already. It's on the initial ARO before they even come into the shop.
That's definitely what it's all about. I mean, the more work we got the customer walking in asking for, then next time around when the technicians are due, when I'm working on their inspection they sent me, they can be working on the work the customer's already approved. So, I mean, it's just definitely a time saver.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing. And Brett, April had chatted in and said over there, you guys have a pretty smart way, I think, of helping to set some of those expectations, right? Is that you communicated on your web page, your posts and social, text and emails, but you also have a monitor up in the shop that announces that stuff. And that's a really smart point there, because it's one of those things. If you set the expectation with your team, but then you also kind of hold them accountable through that, hey, we're a digital shop. Ask us what that means. Something like that, right? Well, now guess what? I got to be on my toes. Somebody might come up and say, oh gosh, that means I got to show you the inspection sheet when you come in. I got to follow the process each and every time, because they might actually come up and start asking me questions about it.
And the last thing you want is a customer to come in and say, hey, I didn't get my digital inspection, and have your boss standing behind you.
Exactly. Exactly. How dare you? So no, I think that's a great point, is just put it out there, and what is that, passive, right? Kind of passive awareness, and folks will talk about it, folks will ask questions about it, but more importantly, internally, you have to be on your game. You have to be ready to answer those questions. And so that puts it into the process without you having to hammer it in with a sledgehammer. You know what I mean?
For sure.
No, it's definitely awesome.
Yeah, last but not least, I think, is the ability to measure everything in digital, right? I mean, the dog ate my homework is not a valid excuse anymore. And and so I was wondering, how did you guys utilize that? Were there in the beginning things, I inspect every single car, and then you pulled out the report and said, maybe just 58%? So did you have experiences like this where everybody could be held accountable, because we have now the KPIs available and data doesn't lie, right? And has no emotions?
Absolutely. I will tell you that I'm a numbers guy first and foremost. I mean, every day I'm looking at what did we do in sales yesterday? How did we do? So I pull up the business control panel every morning, and there's 5 categories that I look at, and I got them all set up basically for the service writers, because that's kind of what I directly oversee.
Right.
But I mean, I'm looking at research time, I'm looking at edited pictures, I'm looking at, and most of the time I have the worst numbers of all of them, which is great. That means he's doing what I'm asking him to do. And I do a lot more of our fleet business, so we don't tend to send those out as much, because
Right.
I got a couple companies that, I mean, if I send them to them, they don't even know which truck I'm talking about. So I look at the numbers every day, and I razz the other guy and say, hey, look, I'm beating you in this number, but you're getting me in that one. And I pull them up for the day, for yesterday, and I pull them up for last week, and I pull them up for last year. And I'm just, where are we compared to where we were a year ago?
Right.
And again, that's kind of how I was brought up through the business. If you're not beating last year, you're going backwards. So I just try to make sure my numbers are all green and growing.
Yeah. To grow your business, all you got to do is beat yesterday.
That's right.
And everybody enjoys this little competition, I assume, or was that difficult?
No, I think, and again, I only share that with one other guy up front here.
I see.
I think he enjoys it. I think he enjoys it when he's winning, and I really can't say nothing to him. I can't really give him any grief if his scent rate's 92% and mine's only 78%. He's like, shut up. I'm kicking your butt. So like I said, I think we're both on top of that. And there's very rarely a time, when Chris calls me, she wants to talk about numbers. She pulls up the control panel and wants to tell me where I'm at. Usually before she can even get me logged into her computer, I'm telling her where I'm at, because I look at it every morning. I'm on it.
That is so awesome.
But like I said, it's not always where it needs to be, but it just kind of reminds me every day that, okay, this is where we're at. What do we need to do to improve today?
Right.
So I think overall, I think last time I talked to Chris, year over year, we were up like 800% in some categories. And it's just like huge. Yeah. Our research time used to be non-existent. When I got back from conference, we redid our inspection, and I got videos and pictures, and it's probably still not where it needs to be, but we're commonly seeing 600 seconds, 700 seconds. But on the average, we're probably still in the 200 seconds. You know what I mean? So we still need to work on it. And I think a lot of that is we're not educating every customer when they walk in the door, saying this is what's coming. be ready for it. And that, I think that's definitely the next step we need to take and put focus on.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's going to be an exciting follow-up show. I got to tell you, you got a lot of room for improvement there. You just found the exit schedule, and then, you know, I mean, because you guys, it's already stuck. You can see where your motors, because you're right, motors research time went from like something like 6 seconds up into the mid 200s, right, as an average. And you, but the thing is, it's stuck there, and you can see the bump in your ARO, and your ARO is stuck there. And so there's just the next step that you're going to take to increase that up and, you know, add another 100 seconds on that motorist research time and another 10-15% on that ARO, and just keep it pinned there, you know, and then just keep building it up from there. And, you know, interesting thing about data, and to your point, you know, is how it motivates your staff, right? Because, you know, a lot of people tend to use the data to say, oh, you know, gosh, we're not doing something right, or, you know, we got to do better here and here. But you know what, what happens a lot of times is you can find data points in there for just about everybody. And if you got a guy and you say, you know, you're leading this team in a number of recommendations per inspection or in picture edit rate, well, guess what happens all of a sudden? Oh gosh, I'm number one. I got to I got to keep my spot.
That's right.
I got to keep that spot now. Uh-oh. So guess what happens? And then everybody else kind of goes, well, that guy's number one. I want to be number one. So I need to pick that up.
Sure.
And it all just boom. Everybody just increases. All you got to do is just show it. Just pull the curtain back and say, this guy's the best at something.
Sure.
And you're not,
Right.
but you're really close.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think what it all boils down to as far as the staff goes is, and I think it's with every company in the world, is everybody just wants to be appreciated. And I'll be honest with you, I would tell you that's the number one reason why I still work for the company I work for, because when I came to work here every day, it was, we appreciate everything you do, you know, and that goes a long way. I mean, you know, I came out of a tire store environment where I was a number. Nobody, you know, I got a phone call every other day yelling about yesterday's business. Yeah. But nobody, you know, even came to the store or even, you know, appreciation goes a long way in my book. And I think that I'm probably the average employee. You know, I think everybody kind of thinks the same thing. Everybody wants to know they're doing a good job. And if they're not doing a good job, they want to know, what do they need to do a good job?
Exactly.
You know?
And that's where that data really helps you there, right? Is you just put that data together with a team huddle or a scrum, like Bill likes to call it. And it doesn't take a long time. You just got to prepare yourself, and you have to have a topic and something to think about. And you want to do some recognition, and then, you know, it's kind of like the bitter and the butter, right? You want to do a little recognition, then you want to do a little, hey, here, we can improve over here. Let's go get them. That's and right. You do that each and every day, and you do it incrementally, and you focus on a topic each day, and a rising tide floats all boats. You know, you start to move that needle, and then you just keep reinforcing that, and you keep celebrating that. And before you know it, you're getting, you know, log in your BCP, it looks like Jeff. It looks like, boo, it looks like somebody's been taking steroids over there. Because like night and day. Isn't that right, Bill?
Absolutely. Yep. So I always like to, when I'm doing that first scrum in the morning, I like to go ahead and have it very short, very sweet. And I like to say, these are the things that we agreed we're going to work on. We agreed that we wanted to make them go. Congratulations, we've made this one happen. What can I do to help you make these other two move? So it's always, you know, I hate to use a comparison like training a puppy, but it's constant reward and constant correction until you get them to, you know, do what you need.
Yeah, until your puppy's bringing you birds, leaving them on.
Yeah, we actually use the scrum in the morning and a scrum in the evening. And we keep them short, but that helps us set the day and then review the day and what can we focus on for tomorrow. So it kind of sets that stage and keeps that idea of improvement and staying on top, and you know, it gives us an opportunity to tell our guys how much we appreciate them, how well they're doing. And, you know, I like to use the word opportunities. You know, we have opportunities here to grow and improve.
Yes. Take advantage of them. You know, and that's fantastic. I mean, really, because, you know, from what you guys have brought today, you know, to Jeff's point about, get focused on them fundamentals and get that stuff built out. Once you're there at that point, you know, then you just really break it down and looking at your data and say, where do we need to focus on, and working with Bill and Chris or whoever your advisor is, and saying, okay, well, you know, they want us focusing here. work that in. It's just communicate that plan to your team and say, hey, that's important. And like you guys said, it's like, as long as I know what you're looking for from me, well, I'm going to deliver that. I'm going to do my best to deliver that. And so then they'll focus on that. And it's not, don't say, oh gosh, here's this thing figured out and I expect to see it double my, our revenue in the next 6 months. Oh my gosh, right? We're just setting up for failure. But if we can say, oh, I got to take one more picture a day, or I need to make, a couple more edits a day, or another recommendation per inspection, whatever it might be, in baby steps, that's not hard, right? Everybody understands what's expected, and we're talking about the victories, and we're starting to motivate each other, and we're starting to compete a little bit because that's what we like to do. And before you know it, that's how those habits set in. Now it's stuck. Now they're calling you out about how they're beating you, right? The student is now the master. And then guess what? Book your plane tickets, right?
So what you're saying is it's okay for the shop owner to go ahead and want to increase from 25,000 a week to 50, as long as he goes ahead and lets the shop as general have a win a couple $1,000s at a time. Let them have wins often and quickly. And, we do the same thing when we're guiding them through to use the inspection sheet to generate revenue, get them quick wins in there and keep everybody positive.
Absolutely. The main thing is you all got to work together. If everybody's battling, it ain't going to work.
Yeah, sure. And it's that buy-in. And like you said, it starts from the top, right? It's one thing with the owner, but we know the owner doesn't really run the shop. And so the guys that are out there that get the respect and, the leaders on the floor, those are the ones that really, you got to make sure. And even if you got to grease them a little bit, give them some incentive, give them some bonus so that they get over kind of that, icky change feeling. But they stay motivated, and they're telling the team this is the way it's going to be and why, and they got the value propositions and they can communicate that. Oh, it's going to make it so much easier for you,
Right.
And then after that, it's just making a plan, being a smart plan. Don't try to, don't try to go weed whacking in a new trail. Follow the work that these guys have done before, and all of kind of the proof is in the pudding, all the data that we have. And, we develop our best practices around that stuff because, well, gosh, it works, and it's hard to argue with success. And so don't argue with success, emulate it, tell us how to improve upon this success, but don't think you're going to find a new path that's easier or something like that, because it just doesn't exist. Well, we would have found it already. And then, let the leaders lead, let the team start to, sharing that success and drive that success. And before you know it, they're going to be telling you how to improve it and how the best practices should look like. And it's automatic. It becomes automatic at that time. And so we wish, we're up on the top of the hour. And so, I really appreciate everybody coming on. I think this was a great discussion. I think it's going to give a lot of insights into folks and kind of, hey, other folks have been there and done that, and stay in the saddle, and it'll pay off. And really what we like to do on the podcast and just through all of our interactions and our educational contacts is make that ramp up, make that learning experience less painful and faster each and every time. Just like you guys are iterating your numbers 1%, one step at a time, we're trying to do the same thing, is make it quicker, faster, easier, and one step at a time, so that more people can have the success that Brett and Jeff are in here talking about. Uwe and Bill, thank you very much for coming on as always and giving me awesome support and insight. We're going to post up, so if you're subscribed, you'll get the recording automatically. We'll post up the link to Uwe's infographic as well. I'm sure we'll put it up on Facebook. If you have any questions that didn't get answered in the chat already, go ahead and post that up on Facebook. Let's take that conversation onto the Facebook forum, because these guys are, they love to help you out. And it's like you said, ask questions, right? That's the first step, is ask questions. A lot of people here that are willing to answer them for you. You just have to be ready to, be open to what you might, the answer you might get. But it's nothing that's incredible, and you can't do it.
Yeah. So, hey, Tom, next week we are going to be talking about service advisor efficiency, doing more in less time, and how the Amazon rule fits into that.
Yeah, and we'll be talking some detail.
Eric Seven from A Plus Japanese Repair in San Carlos, California, is going to be joining us.
Oh yeah, very nice. Oh, yeah, I'm excited to have Eric on. You guys crushing it. And you know, so we're going to be talking a lot about specific steps on kind of what we were talking about today, is how to set that up and how to publish that story. So you don't want to miss next week, because we're going to be going into the kind of the how-to details on what exactly it looks like and what you should be doing from both a workflow perspective and, you know, that publishing or editing and sending and communicating and educating to the motorist. So it's going to be a fantastic show. Appreciate all the work, Dustin, getting that thing set up. Really excited to have Eric on.